Let's watch Joe as he logs into his bank. You know what you noticed? No passwords. That's because Joe uses passkeys. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get passkeys, how to install them, and why they're so secure. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, where we make videos to help seniors understand technology. Today we're going to talk about passkeys. In 2023, you started to hear about passkeys as Apple, Microsoft, and Google started to use these as sign-ons for your account. We started to see password managers and secure websites use passkeys instead of passwords. Based on FIDO standards, passkeys are a replacement for passwords that provide faster, easier, and more secure sign-ins to websites and apps across a user's device. Unlike passwords, passkeys are strong and phishing resistant. So in this video, I'm going to explain what passkeys are, where you find passkeys, how you might use them, and how they're better than passwords. So let's get on with the video and see how this works. It's easier if I take you through our existing security practices and then explain how passkeys work. So in this first scenario, Joe is going to log into his bank account with a password. So let's see how this goes. Joe, of course, makes contact with his bank. His bank asks him for a password. Joe puts his password in. His password is 1234. Joe hates passwords. He has no password manager, and he uses the same password for all his accounts. Once entered in, the bank accepts the password and allows him into his account. So the problem is this. Over the past 15 years, I've taught a lot of security courses, and we've always taught the fundamentals as follows. Make passwords complicated so they cannot be guessed. Passwords should be greater than 8 digits, and to help you with that, we encourage you to use passphrases. Now, we also recommend using a password manager so that you can remember all these passwords, and you should not use the same password for all your sites. But despite all our preaching over the years, these basic principles are rarely followed. In fact, and as you are well aware, the most common passwords used are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the word password. Despite having password managers for many years, the uptake of that and the use of password managers still remains very low. And people just don't want to remember passwords, so they frequently use the same password for all the sites, and the behavior of this really hasn't changed, what leads to a lot of problems. And what is most important that you must understand is what we've taught in the past is not necessarily true at present, and that is the case with passwords. None of this is true anymore, and let me explain why. Now, the reason passwords aren't going to work is because of phishing. And this is the common method by which the bad guys get your password. They just trick you into giving up your passwords. Why should they have to guess them when you're going to voluntarily just give them up? Now, I'm sure those in the audience today will say, no, 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 no. I will never give my password up. I am a security expert. Well, folks, if that's what you think, then you are part of the problem, because phishing is a very sophisticated art, and there's sort of general phishing that will happen right up to spear phishing, where it's very targeted, and anyone can get caught in a phishing scam. And if you are a targeted person, then it's just hopeless. So they will get your passwords voluntarily by you giving them up. And that is called phishing, and nobody is immune. So let's look at the next phase of security that will protect you against phishing. Since anyone can get your password and thereby log into your account, we need a second factor, something that you have and can identify yourself and say, hey, it's me, honestly, it's me. So this is called a second factor verification, and this is an example of using your cell phone and receiving a text. Now you see Joe is, of course, logging into his bank. He's using his favorite password, 1234. When he starts to log into the bank says, whoa, we're not sure you are Joe. We want a second step verification. So they are going to send him a text message to his phone, which he's already registered with the bank. Joe then gets a text message from the bank that has the 6-digit code he needs. He then takes that code and enters it into the bank site, and that allows him into his bank account. Now, this type of security, called two-factor authentication, is using a text message to get your 6-digit code. Now, this is based on the theory that only you would have that SIM card with your phone number. Nobody else in the whole world will have that. That is your phone number on your SIM card. So what are some of the problems with this? Well, it applies to all devices. So if you're on your PC, you would have to, of course, have your phone with you to receive the text message. Bit cumbersome there. Also, we talk about SIM jacking. Some people, if you have your phone stolen or lost, they take the SIM card out, and once that SIM card is on someone else's phone, then they're able to complete your two-step verification. What if you don't own a phone? Not common, but of course does occur. And it does get a little more complicated with international travel if you're not able to get text messages internationally. So all in all, it has had a relatively poor adoption as a second factor security method. All right, let's see if we can make this text thing a little bit easier. And in this scenario, we're going to use an authenticator app. You're going to see Joe logging into the bank asking for an authenticator number, and then he's going to get that from an app on his phone. This means, of course, you don't have to receive a text message. So here we see Joe entering his 1234 password. He then is prompted for the 6-digit security code, and he picks up his phone and looks on his phone in the authenticator app, which generates the 6-digit code for his bank. He then puts the 6-digit code into the computer, and he gets logged into his bank. So that is two-factor authentication using the authenticator app. That is precisely the type of security I've used for the past 10 years. I have all my accounts secured by two-factor authentication using the authenticator app. It is probably the most secure because I don't need any text messages. The authenticator app sits on my phone and it generates the number. Despite being available for the past 10 years and probably the most secure, it's had, again, a very poor adoption if you look on the global picture. And the reason is because maybe the apps are confusing. It's something else you have to learn. If you're on your phone and you have to switch between apps to get the number when you're logging into something in a store, again, it's confusing. So despite being the most secure, it just hasn't had the wide appeal that we hoped it would have. So that is two-factor authentication, sending by text and using an authenticator app. Now, on behalf of all technology, I have an apology to make. As an educator, the practice that we've done for the past 10 years is to show you videos of all the bad things that will happen to you if you don't use these services. Despite working very hard and really trying to encourage people, the uptake and the universal appeal of these two methods has been relatively low. And for that, I want to apologize because you have spoken and it just doesn't work for you. So what we've done is we have come back, we have reassessed things again and created Passkeys. And hopefully Passkeys will be easier for you to use, more acceptable, and have a universal appeal. So let me explain Passkeys and how they work. The easiest way to explain Passkeys is to follow Joe on his logging into the bank again. So Joe, of course, sits down to his computer and goes to log into the bank. His computer makes connections with the bank, and the bank says, "Hi, Joe. How would you like to use passkeys? You won't have to remember any passwords." And Joe thinks that's great because now he won't have to remember 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple. Joe says, "Yes, I'm happy to use passkeys," and clicks the button. When he clicks the button at the bank, something happens. There's actually some software that downloads onto his whatever device it is. This is device specific, and let's say he's using his computer or PC. This software drops down onto his PC, as well as some software gets installed at the bank. And the bank is called his public key, and the software that gets downloaded onto his PC is a private key. No, you don't actually get a key. This is just some software. Now, the private key on Joe's computer is secure and, as I said before, is only on his computer. His public key is stored at the bank. Once this process has occurred, Joe decides to log off, and now he's going to try the new passkey system. So Joe connects to the bank through his computer, no password required, and the bank says, "Hey, is that you? Is that really you, Joe?" Joe says, "Yeah, it's me. It's me." And so the bank says, we are going to send you a quiz. And this quiz is a mathematical quiz. And to solve this quiz, you're going to have to be real smart." Joe says, "Yeah, that's okay." And so the bank decides to send him this quiz, and this is a very complicated quiz. In fact, in order to get the answer, you would need to hook all the computers in the whole world up, can't miss one, and run them for a whole week to get the answer to this quiz. It's a tough quiz that they're going to send Joe's computer. So they do. They send that quiz to Joe's computer, and within seconds, because Joe has the private key, he can solve that instantaneously. Nobody else can, but because of that private key, Joe can solve that. And that creates a number, a digit, a long digit that immediately is sent to the bank. The bank says, "Hey, you are Joe, that's great," and lets him log in. So that's how public and private key encryption works. So let's summarize and see how all this is going to work when Joe logs into the bank. Now, we don't know what the menu system would look like at the bank. It could be, do you want to sign in with a password? Do you want to sign in with two-factor authentication or use a passkey? So I'm not sure how the bank will set the menu up. But anyway, Joe connects with the bank, clicks passkey, and as soon as he hits that button, passkey, the complicated math question gets sent to his computer where the private key unencrypts it, solves the problem, and sends the code over to the bank and instantly allows Joe into his bank account. That fast, no passwords. So that is how passkeys are created. That's where you find them, and that's how they work. Now, the private and public passkey idea is part of a science called cryptography. This is not a new science. In fact, it's been around since the 1970s when PCs were just created. So this is a science that's been around a very long time, and this is sort of a new twist to it, using it as a sign-on for your secure sites. Now, to understand this technology and make it easy for you, there's one point that you need to understand, and that is that the private passkey that is on your device, let's say it's on your mobile phone, is unique to that phone. You can't copy it, you can't move it, you can't do anything with it. It is only on that phone. It is a private passkey. If you get a new device, you have to create a new one. The public passkey is, of course, out in the internet. It's on a secure site, maybe your bank or wherever. And if they get hacked and your public key gets taken, it can't do anything because it doesn't have the private key, and only you have that private key on that device. Now, the second thing you're going to say to me, "Oh, Ron, no, we're going to have to create all these public and private keys for all these different sites. Aren't I going to need a massive password manager to keep track of all these different passkeys? Nope, it all happens behind the scenes. You won't have to do anything. It's magic. It'll just appear and it will work and sign you in and it'll all happen. You don't need to do anything. And then I know you're all just on the edge of your seat wanting to ask me, what happens if you lose or someone steals your mobile phone, for example? They, of course, have your private key. The answer couldn't be simpler. You just log into your bank account on another device. You just go down to the security section and delete your private key for that account. Gone, so they can't get in. Now, if you retrieve your phone or you get a new phone, then all you have to do is just recreate another public key, which you saw how easy it is to do. So this is the most secure and easiest so far for secure sign-ins, and no more passwords. You also can leave your other sign-on options in place so your passkeys can be used in addition to your other types of sign-in. Now, over the next few years, you're going to see this progressing and more companies offering this as an option for a sign-in. It'll all be a little different depending on how the company structures it, but it is secure, it's easy, and I would really encourage you to try it. I think you're going to like it, and maybe we'll be able to get rid of those passwords and password managers. Now, in this section, I'm going to show you passkeys in my Google account. I'm going to show you where they are and how I use them to set up a Google passkey to get into my Google account on my Pixel phone from my PC. In other words, I logged into my PC and set up a passkey for my Pixel phone on my PC. Let's have a look at how I did that. All right, we're now in my Google account, and we're going to come down and you'll see my my account is protected, and by that green check mark. And if you come over to security on the left side, we're going to click security. You'll see I have 2 passkeys, and we're going to click this and create a new passkey. I'm going to hit continue. And what this is going to do is bring up a menu, and I'm going to select my Pixel 6 phone. Click that. And it's now going to notify my Pixel 6, send a private key over there. And I'm going to hit continue. And your passkey is created, and we're all done. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video as much as I had making it. Please do that, like and subscribe. It really helps our channel. Give passkeys a try. Super easy, extremely safe, and I'm sure you're going to find it a lot easier than password manager and passwords. Till we see you again, have a great day.